Welcome back to the ESL Challenger League Season 47. The European edition continues. I'm T-Time, joined by Michael Yumi Cassidy as we head over to the last vestiges of the group stage, really. We're done with most of the groups, and today we're going to be trying to finish off Group D as well. Before we get into that, though, Michael, let's get into how you're feeling, Michael. How are you doing?
You always ask me about my feelings, but I feel like I never get your feelings on the matter. I'm feeling pretty good, by the way, but just, I
am on so many medications right now. I got land flu without going to a LAN, right? So that's why I don't really want to get into myself in that regard. Yeah, basically, right? But this is what I'm here for over here. This is my healing. This is my medication. The ESL Challenger League is what brings me back to life, and that's why I'm here right now and not lying down in bed rest like my doctor told me to. But enough about that. There's going to be a couple of teams on the server who aren't going to be lying down either, but that'll be two different servers, and both of them will be focusing in on Group D. So why don't we take a look at how things are going there? Of course, we already have our top team decided. That'll be, I believe it's Koi, going to be going forward with a 4-1 split. Today, we could end up on a lot of 3-2s, interestingly enough. It's 9Pandas versus TSM. If 9Pandas ends up losing out this one, then both them and TSM will be on 3-2. And as we'll show you in the schedule graphic shortly as well, it'll also be Eyeballers versus Sangal. So we could actually end up having a potential 4-way 3-2 tie, which just goes to show you why no one really likes round robin.
I mean, it just also is like, this only really happens in a circumstance where one of these teams bottoms out, and that was 9 within the group. So yeah, them clamoring to see who's actually going to be sort of seeded in the high group or the mid group. Hopefully able to avoid the low group as well, because a lot of it will come down to, imagine round differentials and head-to-heads. That's an admin's job to sort out how the 4-way tie is going to pan out. But you can see those two games like you were talking about on screen. Of course, we're going to be covering 9Pandas versus TSM, but on the B stream, Eyeballers versus Sangal will be again another one of these nail-biter finishes for the group.
And of course, if you guys are wondering, what is Michael talking about? High group, mid group, what is this Zoomer talk? No, guys, don't worry. We're still Counter-Strike. We're still boomers. The high group is basically the top 2 teams will be going forward and have a guaranteed spot in the upper bracket, maybe the upper bracket semifinals, depending on how they perform in the high group. The mid group will be playing for lower bracket, and the bottom group will then be playing sort of relegation or to stay in the league, right? So that's just the long and short of how these things will be shaping out. And then obviously, as the league develops, we will be explaining things as it goes. But the match we're going to be tunneling in on, like Michael said, is 9Pandas versus TSM. So let's take a look at what the lineups are looking like. Obviously, TSM is a team that's been shaken up a little bit.
I don't know what that was supposed to be, but
I was trying to shake.
they have been shaken up quite a bit. TSM as a sort of ambitious project for them coming back into Counter-Strike was quite an exciting sort of prospect to a certain degree. I think a lot of the targeting would have been around and circulating around the majors, but with them failing there, they have done a lot of roster moves, and it's only Valde that really came in as the inception in-game leader for the TSM return that remains on this roster as well. But now it does feel like he's got a little bit of some extra help, some more experienced players, some more prospects around him. It just seems like a different look TSM, but they've struggled to find any sort of consistency around the in-game leading of Valde, which is, it's the first time he's doing it as a player that's been in the scene for quite a long while. Meanwhile, 9Pandas, basically, they should have been at the last major, but unfortunately couldn't get their visas sorted in time, had to be replaced last minute, which is a massive shame for an organization and players that had been in the circuit for such a long time and had basically reached the height of their careers, only for it to be snatched away for circumstances outside of their control.
And look, as far as the 9Pandas are concerned, I'm sure they're going to be having so many hard feelings about that, but they're still in a position to qualify for more pro leagues later on through the Challenger League. They're still in a position to qualify for more and more events. Obviously, we're not quite at the openness of the circuit that is projected to be next year, but that is the beauty of Counter-Strike, right? This will always are more big events to potentially get into. And with the kind of players that they have and the caliber that they have displayed, I'm sure they're going to be show favorites. As, to be honest, I think they might be show favorites going into this series as well, Michael. You can never forget the young talent glowing, obviously such a stud going into the major qualifiers. I have to say, and I will confess, I know I just mentioned this to you off stream as well, up until these RMR qualifiers, I thought glowing was like 19 years old, to be honest. And then
maybe
turns
like
out the man is older than me.
Maybe like 23, 24 to stretch, you know? But yeah, he's quite an old chap, but he's been playing, honestly, some of his best Counter-Strike in the past couple of years, which is kind of wild to think that he's sort of hitting that peak at what is such a traditionally too far down the timeline for a lot of these players that we see in the circuit.
Yeah, it is. 9Pandas is sort of that second win team. You know, you've got Idis Balance, who obviously had his own time. You've got Seized, who obviously was a Navi. You've got Glowing now. So it is a surprisingly older squadron of players, actually, when you sit down and think about it. So it'll be interesting, right? You're contrasting 9Pandas with TSM over there, but the contrast has to be shown in the server and in the maps. And Michael, obviously, you know, I'm a little bit curious about how this one shapes out. I think 9Pandas, pretty much in any circumstance, should be favored in this veto, though. But I want to know your thoughts on it overall.
I actually think TSM match up quite well against them because they immediately are able to get rid of an Anubis. That's been their permaban, which means that it's actually a very predictable veto because 9Pandas only really bounce between Anubis and Overpass. So TSM, they go into a Mirage. You know, they could have gone with an Anubis, or sorry, an Inferno rather. But them vetoing out Nuke in the second round, Ancient being our decider. So I don't think those two maps are any real surprise. I maybe wasn't expecting Ancient to make it through as a decider. I was expecting an Inferno or a Nuke, probably.
Listen, at the same time, you know, I don't even know if we're going to go to the three maps over there. Mirage, sure, when you sit down and look at the firepower, I am left a little bit wanting on the TSM side with Poison on the team as well. I won't say that he has been the most impressive player ever since his initial complexity stint came through. It never felt like he's hit the same high highs. On the other side, obviously, you've got so much firepower coming in on the 9Pandas, just individually. They're a core that's been together for a long time. They've got good protocols down as well in that regards. I am skeptical, to say the least, about, you know, TSM's ability to take Mirage away. Valde's going to have to pull off some great IGLing. And for me, Michael, the prediction as well is pretty straightforward. I think 9Pandas takes as well.
Yeah, I mean, just the heights that they were able to hit recently, I find it hard to disagree with you, unfortunately. So I'm kind of hoping that we can be surprised by TSM and this sort of newer look. Hopefully they've had enough time to sort of bet everybody in and actually put up a good fight against 9Pandas today in the server.
And listen, when it comes to TSM, the players in particular, I'm going to be putting a lot of question marks on Valde. Obviously, I've been a big fan of his until that ENCE project came through, and it felt like his stock really fell throughout that, right? He got put into a top team to try and replace a player like Spinks, who was given so many resources, and he wasn't able to perform. It's felt like Valde has never been the same player ever since, and I'm hoping, you know, honestly, this is my first time casting TSM. I think it might be yours as well, not sure about that. But I'm hoping that we can see something special from him, because it does feel like he's one of those Danish players that has been left behind but could really still see a resurgence, especially in the IGLing department.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those situations where there's only so many different ways in which you can sort of develop your career as time goes on, especially when you have these opportunities in big teams. But when you've got a new project, you know, all eyes are on you to try and make it work as that veteran on the roster.
But we'll be focusing down a little bit more across the entire series, numbers-wise, on Glowing, and we want you guys to keep an eye on him as well. Obviously, he showed some spectacular numbers. He also showed some great numbers on the one-win side when he was there. The question is, can that continue? Can that be maintained up against, you know, what seems to be an increasing onslaught of international teams that you are having to deal with across all of Counter-Strike, really, at this point? So keep an eye out on him, and we're going to be tracking his numbers as the series goes along as well. Michael, I want your thoughts on the Poison dynamic, though, within this team. Obviously, I've maybe, you know, taken some shots at him while he's down. Do you think this is a good pickup? What is he at TSM?
I mean, this is the type of project that I wish that he was able to get access to almost immediately after sort of failing the trial at Fnatic. You know, they made it clear that they weren't going to be using him, and there was a long period of time where, you know, you just kind of you'd scroll through your Twitter timeline, you'd see him reminding people like, hey guys, I'm still a free agent, like, please, I want to compete. And it seemed like nobody would be able to touch him for a while. So it feels like he lost a bit of time in his potential resurgence. In a way, I almost wanted him to go back to his like domestic scene to see if he could sort of grind back up as well. But, you know, those chances just didn't seem to be there. So I do hold my reservations about Poison, because he was such an explosive player when he came onto the scene the first time. And he wasn't exactly like an experienced guy. He was just kind of plucked in as a prospect, and he showed a lot of what he could do. But yeah, I think the fear is that his better years are behind him, unfortunately. But you know, this is the type of project where if he can show good force and he can show good form, then he can actually elevate TSM quite substantially. But that's only if he can get that sort of production.
Well, we're going to need that production from him on the server. Mirage is generally a place where he is known to shine. Let's see whether he can. But before we can put our eyes on him and the rest of TSM, we have got to go to a short break. We'll be back with Mirage very soon. Don't go anywhere. called Mirage, but this is no illusion. We're continuing things on. 9Pandas and TSM to fight things out, and it's double dualies to start things out for the Panda side. I'm very curious about how TSM wants to deal with this, as they are going for what looks like a beeline down B. Maybe that's why it's called a beeline.
Almost certainly could be the reason, but Glowing out in the open, getting run over by the Glock train that was ahead of him. He's trying his best to hold on to this B bomb site, but struggling on his fight as well. Only good for the one, and Zyphon even walking through the smoke towards Market, cutting these rotations high and dry, only leaving Idis balance on his dualies. He might have 2 pistols, but he's got no teammates to speak of.
And no chance pretty much. Zyphon, some impressive entries coming through. Obviously, one of the players who, from the Copenhagen Flames project, who it felt like was somewhat left behind, but has been hoping that TSM can be his new forever home in that regard. I don't know why I turned him into a pet right there, Michael, but yeah.
Yeah.
Foster days.
Yeah, he did come back at least through that. I mean, Sprout was the first organization that really felt like it had sort of grabbed hold of him, and, you know, even then they had him for a little bit, they put him on the bench, they brought him back, and then we found him in this forever home, potentially. So it's been a bit of a tumultuous journey for Zyphon, with all of his teammates having their highs and lows. You know, some of them winning big trophies, some very impressive trophies to add to the cabinet. Meanwhile, you know, he's been a part of projects that don't feel like they've quite had an identity. And I think that's been part of the problem for TSM in the early stages. So it's nice that they come in very strong on this first map. Very dominating pistol. And it is all USPs. There was a bit of team damage at the start of this round. That's how Glowing has 64 health. But they've gone for a B-sided stack, as do TSM have all of their players gravitated that side of the map. So the stack's in the right place.
Listen, I like what Val is calling. Guys, there's only really one site that you need to worry about, and that's B. As long as you're using a lot of utility over here, you should still be fine. But the problem is they don't actually have too many flashes, so the USPs have a chance. But the Zeus has missed. Seized was hoping to get frisky with lightning. Instead, his teammates have fallen down, and out they go. Not a single casualty, and a comfortable win with Valde picking up some extra cash from the spell as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so nice that you're able to have a second round like that, especially when you have 4 rifles. You know, those types of investments, if you're not able to get your hands back on those rifles again, it means that when you go into this first gun, it does feel a little lackluster. But even just holding on to this SMG and having these Galils makes the prospect of not investing into head armor, as many of the 9Pandas players have not, a little bit more dangerous. You know, you're put into one-shot headshot territory. The SMG can immediately headshot you, and it feels awful when it happens to you. TSM are probably going to move in with some pace, given that they still have that SMG in their arsenal.
Idis balance forced off, and this AUG will be called to order soon. Quacks on the other side. Those already found the first. Quirts runs out. No teammates nearby. Scaling's a bit slow, but at least Valde and Zyphon are there with the trades. Delades hoping to come out big while the bomb is making its way over. Delades is able to take it down and bring it back to a 3v3. These smokes will start dissipating soon, and with that, it'll make things a bit more tricky for TSM to actually scale onto the site. These fast plays that they're going for now will be forced to reset down and play for the mid-round.
They do have another smoke, so they can bridge the gap if they decide that they want to still contact upper from ramp. But the fact that that bomb is just out in the open, and it's open sightlines for these CTs to keep tabs on it, does make things a little bit more difficult. There's that smoke into jungle. Threatens the prospect of a cross. Glowing not affected by the flash and still holding his position. Close side triple. Poison does get his hands back on that bomb, but Delades peeking above stairs. And they're just waiting for someone to have swung from CT or from triple, but finally Glowing activates, finds his first, and drops that bomb once again. He should know that Valde's nearby, but Zyphon, his position totally revealed as well. Oh. Valde hitting an absolute blinder shot. Didn't have the health to trade, but played that headshot angle, and TSM get away with a third.
Gotta say, man, Valde was always one of those IGLs that felt like he was somewhat propped up by his fragging ability more than anything else. But honestly, in today's day and age, if you can still frag out like an IGL can, it'll take you very, very far. So mid-round placement, very important.
I mean, the thing is, you know, that execute from TSM, it felt like it was pretty well timed, but I think it was, I can't remember who it was on stairs that actually blocked the smoke that went into jungle. It just meant that those players rotating in could just start gunning them from not only the jungle position, also bottom side stairs. So, I mean, nice setup from 9Pandas to disrupt that, but they're unfortunately getting a few too many hands on weapons at the early stages of this round. A nice push towards Ramp and Palace gets their access, or at least gets them access into a couple of rifles, but they don't really know about this player still tucked to the back of the side. Idis balanced, able to stop the plant, and this makes it really hard for TSM now.
Keeps himself alive as well, and now rotations coming in from the CTs. Market Molotov has run out, so now by the time they even start to get onto the site again, it'll be tough days for them to come. Smoke up for the market window, they're lined up, but it won't matter. Klax hits a shot, and with the Molotov on the site, the bomb cannot be recovered. Joel, burning in the flames, forced back, can't take these duels. Now planting for sure, fully commits the first time over. Klax sidelines it though. No, the bomb will be planted. TSM won't be able to get away with the round. A big misstep overlooking the back of the bench side. And I've got to say, Michael, these really fast hits that TSM are going for do feel a little bit coin flippy. It feels like eventually you are going to end up losing a few of these, especially if you're not clearing out the site like that before planting.
I mean, it also just didn't feel like they were really committed to that philosophy at the start of the round. They were going for like an aggro default with one player Palace just holding defensive, another one sort of probing towards ramp, especially after the Palace player took contact, just trying to get some space back and, you know, contain the potential aggression. But once they lost those two players, yeah, I mean, it just was a much faster barreling into that B bomb side, just hoping that it was a complete stack on the A side. But that was Idis balance, and oof, there goes Xiphon. A lovely shot to start this round off.
Very risky peek, could have been an up on the other side, but he's able to get the fruits of his labor twice over. Glowing down as well, be short, uncontested. Now Klax finally able to take him down, but it feels like the amount of ground he has gained as well as the advantage given is more than worth it. Sure, TSM don't have the best firepower remaining with the Galila, the Deagle, but honestly in the 4v3 it feels like it shouldn't matter.
Well, there's nobody actually in the A bomb site, so them creeping out from ramp like this should be uncontested, but they are piecing it together here, 9Pandas. Got a forward push via seized, and Klax is looking to rotate in through spawn, but he shouldn't be able to deny the plant. No one's in a great spot to do it.
Klax might be peeking out first. It's too early. Quirtz takes him down. Wasn't really quite ready for the lower verticality peak. Was worried about a Palace player more than anything else, but it feels like 9Pandas will have to save these remaining rifles. It's just the speed, man. Honestly. These rounds are so fast.
Yeah, I mean that's just all Xiphon taking space and ripping heads. So good, that's great news for TSM. Only really had that, what 2 rifles coming into this round, but
yeah,
just marvelous stuff there on the entry. They get their hands on some of these rifles again. He's looking for a couple of exits and does hit the headshot. There's another player looking to chase, and Valde leaps over the fence to find him. So a 1-for-1, and it was of more value for C's to have held onto that rifle than to have taken a rifle away from TSM. Their buy is not going to be as pristine as it could have been.
Fortunately, it is still propped up by the fact that they won in the half buy, so you're able to pull out pretty much a full buy. You sure might be missing some bells and whistles and a rifle and seized, but it's not the end of the world.
That was his rifle he lost.
He deserves to be on a UMP then. There you go.
Yeah. That's what you get.
Once again, game plan is the same. Fast play out towards A, full execute, Molotov, smokes galore, the util all over the floor, and Klax fully blinded. This time will be cleared. Quirtz won't let him get the better of him twice over. The nade gives Idis balance a chance, but it's an opportunity squandered. Bomb can be planted, Quirtz still not dead, and all the nades the CTs are using will not help them get a retake. They have given up on this round. At least that's what it feels like. Moving back for the 4-man save, TSM, again, the speed is just overwhelming.
I love this. They're just going with very simple, I mean, very replicatable Counter-Strike. Just straight up hits on the bomb sites, just overwhelming with utility. You know, 9Pandas are trying to almost anticipate a shift or a tone change from TSM. you know, so many teams when you see them on T side Mirage, they're very systematic. You know, take mid control, throw a bit of presence, you know, make sure that AWPer can't just sit inside of window and get clear information. They can't push top mid clearly, but TSM are just sticking to side executes, and right now 9Pandas are not in the right setups really to address it properly.
I do wonder, and look, this is the cynic in me, okay? This is the skeptic in me.
Sure.
I do wonder if this is just TSM internally thinking, and look, to be honest, I like it if it is. It's just them internally saying, you know what, we don't actually have the structure to properly mid-round things out the way that would be ideal. So let's just prioritize speed, because we know we've got some really skilled players individually. So let's go speed, and then when we've got our bomb plant down, hopefully we'll have an advantage. Hopefully we can get things out.
Yeah, I mean, that could certainly be a part of it. You know, this is also the first time that many of these players are interacting with players from different cultures or regions, so, you know, let alone hard enough communicating in English, but then also making sure that everyone's communicating clearly. Sometimes it's just, if you call simple buzzwords, life can be a lot simpler as well. But this is a much faster round, again, from TSM. This time they're going up through short for a quick B-side assault. Joel floored as that first man in, but the bomb wasn't actually going to hazard the same journey up through short, so TSM have pumped the brakes.
Oh, Molotov will be forcing C's backwards, so they've got a decent idea of what's going on over here. The CTs cannot rotate despite the fact that they've got two players aggressively in A main. But with a 5v3 found early on, courtesy of Dillides, his first kill as well. Glowing will end up falling. Zyphon lurks all the way through, and C's will be rotating back in. They thought it's clear. Van still has one member remaining, and that Seized with UMP will be able to reload as well. Valde simply can't cut him down, but Seized, foot exposed, taken down. Quack's not ready. Zyphon is a menace. A menace with utility at that. And as Valde pops down the bomb, gets himself in a good position as well to actually defend it, but can't find the kill.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Zyphon is doing so much in finding these multi-kills. That tap and hold from Valde actually felt like a very solid play, but he just needed to hit the shot, and that's where the round really breaks down. Good address from 9Pandas, finding that first player just barreling up of short. TSM, this time they just can't go in with that same pace. Even though the call seemed like they wanted to go fast, they had to slow things down, and by then 9Pandas were able to get a little bit more situated, even though, you know, Zyphon still found that timing on short.
He's not able to see the crossover, but at least Clax is there. Idis Balance gets the follow-up. Valde down. And playing this front-facing early contact style into A ramp is fun, right? If they're going to be going for these A executes that they have prioritized, you will end up getting at least a kill or two and having a chance to fight before the smokes are down, which feels like a very vital thing for 9Pandas to have.
It's also quite interesting, you know, the style of Counter-Strike that TSM are playing. I mean, it's very engaging, I think. You know, there's sometimes you watch teams that are default
engaging as a viewer.
I mean, even engaging to play. You know, if you know you're going to have fights in the first 45 seconds, your brain is, you know, wired to think, okay, we're hunting for these duels. We're not scared of them. But there's so many teams that play like slow default into late execute or, you know, explosive mid round, and that can be fun as well. But there is a lot of dead time in there. So, you know, I'm just thinking about some of the previous experiences that some of these players on TSM have had on their rosters, and quite a few of them play a very similar sort of explosive dynamic.
Idis Balance. He likes slower rounds. He likes slower peaks, and it feels like he's playing in slow motion because everyone is just falling down. Joel crossing over. He's going to be speeding things up, though, and that'll give them access to a bomb plant, potentially. Clock is ticking down low, and with Glowing popping open the smoke, he was hoping that the plant will be in a position where he can punish, but a default plant gives them safety galore. Glowing, though, almost finding Poison is 3 HP, but that's all he needs to return fire with the AWP. I'm surprised Seized is considering this. Doesn't feel like a chance that he has in this round. Smoke short, Kit's in front of him, but no kills really to be found. He's hoping for a head to be popped off, but Poison's being very diligent, crouching away consistently, doesn't want to expose himself to this very angle where your head will be visible.
Yeah, Yeah, Poison escaping, and Seas knows he's missed his window if there was ever going to be a chance for this. Joel shooting at Ghost, but he heard those steps of Seas, and I mean that's the most impact we've seen from Joel so far on this T side. He was at 1 kill before, but he finds 3 great ones coming up through connector, past those smokes, and wrapping the A bomb site. Even though it looked like a couple of his players were very ready to sort of address his progression, just tore their heads clean off. Really nicely handled. And that was after, you know, the opener from 9Pandas actually looked quite great. You know, they're still able to stop some of the early defaulting. But a good mid-round adjustment. Good play made. It'll be quite upsetting to lose a round like that, considering how it almost felt like they were never in the right positions to succeed before on CT, and now they get a round that, you know, develops quite nicely for them off of their initial game plan, and it blows up in their face later on.
Seems like they're going for another play to insert Siphon in aggressively. This time he starts off on the A side. Valde is threatening middle, and they reset backwards. TSM, aware of the potentially difficult economy that their opponents might have, and they've already fallen short to a half buy once before. They don't want to have that doubled over, especially when there is that saved AWP as well, though I don't think C's actually revealed that one.
Yeah, I mean, they might know that one ult was saved, but they wouldn't have expected another ult to have been bought into by 9Pandas. Things could still get weird here.
Does still feel like a late A hit on a contact is the only play they can go for. A single smoke is all Poison has, and that might be reserved for the bomb planter or something like it. Valde, if you want to contact in late into middle, you have to contend with the seized AWP as well, and Clax at close range, the Eagle will be deadly if there isn't a flash to turn him off the angle. All is coming through. Call's been made. Ida's balance hits the first shot, but Clax is the one to actually find the kill. Straight to the head. He's peeking out again. Clax able to get 2. That's why you need the flashes. Delid is as well. Nearby. Tagged up, sure, but the tag won't matter. Poison all alone. Forced back, and again, TSM fall to the half buys.
Oh my goodness. How many times is this going to happen in the same game? I mean, TSM have had at least one go their way as well. But 9Pandas now striking twice, and, you know, it was barely the AWPs that seemed to do it. And a lovely little bait as well to find Poison just as the round is concluding. That's a rough way to lose a round. And once again, a chance for 9Pandas to sort of bounce right back here on the CT side and maybe even, you know, tie up the scoreline before we think about that second half. With where the loss bonus is, this is kind of like the best buy I think TSM are going to really muster together unless they take some hard saves.
Hey, when in doubt, go back to the B-bomb side. That seems to be the game plan, at least right now. Quick little walk stick boost up for Glowing as well. He puts himself in a good position to try and hide away, and Seas will be hearing the fact that they've moved past the Molotov. He's picked up another molly in the meanwhile. Nades, mollies, he's got the works, but Glowing's not able to stop Joel from jumping down. Joel taken down by Seas. Glowing nearby had held his trigger, but only good for the one. Still, Seas is doing work at the back of this B-bomb site, and with Valde's lurk turned ineffective, 9Pandas should be able to chain together a successive round.
This was perfectly done. But it's all about actually closing these rounds out. Court's trying his best to try and fish for an extra kill before he even thinks about recovering that package. But seized on his AWP, not only played distraction, but then also feasted for 3 frags. I wasn't sure that we were going to get many sort of rounds where Seized would have impact on that secondary AWP, but showing us some great work. Even though he got caught off guard by how fast Joel was progressing in the apartments, it sold the fact that there was nobody on the top side of B, or it was sort of boosted into those apartments so early.
And to be honest,
it worked out wonderfully.
Even though he was playing distraction for going, you're right, it did feel like going was a distraction more than anything else, right? The fact that he didn't take down Joel early on, they're not ready for him, and then they're sort of floundering around. The op can pick them up one by one again. Yeah, great round from Seized and Glowing put together.
Couldn't have asked for better timing to go for that boost.
Speaking of timing, they're going to need a pretty damn good timing to get a bomb plant down over here. There is an AK in the back of the site, and that's going to be spotting them all coming out. Clax can just clean them up. There's no flashes, there's no nothing. This is very much an aimbot's round.
Yeah, nice clean shooting here from Clax to stop them getting a plant. And this is the thing, you know, that this is one of the problems that they would have had, is that they really did feel like they needed a bomb plant, even in that last round. If you know, Diladez had, or sorry, not Diladez, Quartz had been able to get a plant in that 1 versus 3, it would have helped them quite a lot in getting an AWP out potentially. You know, make sure they have every bell and whistle, but yeah, this buy ain't much prettier than that AWP hold from Seas that previous round. It's just kind of crazy to think you had so much success on these burst executes, and they stopped doing them. 9Pandas have now found a bit of a winning solution, now forcing duels while they're setting up on that default. A nice 1-for-1 start off the round. 9Pandas even aggressing on both sides, both extremities. No housing is going to be vacant enough, but Glowing over pushing, even though he had the bomb.
That's insane. Genuine insanity, but Valdo is hoping for a little bit of unwellness himself, but unfortunately for him, it's really just going to be sent back to the doctor. Poison, 1-on-3, a map where he doesn't feel like he's necessarily shown his best so far, and this would be a great time to shine before you move into the CT half. Finds the first kill, makes it quick. And now in the 1-on-2, both players isolated. You are just a quick kill away, but you're contesting down the AWP and making plenty of noise as you do it. Idis Balance catches him off, and 9Pandas equalize 6-6 as we go to a break to see what lies in store in the second. We don't believe in breaks, we only believe in breaking spirits, and 9Pandas might have had their spirits disturbed, already losing one off stream in the start of the pistol round. That looks like it was a clean shot from Quartz. Sure, headshots exchanged, but USP always wins that one out.
I kind of like that you know, you're mentioning spirit, and then we just had magic staring at us.
Yeah.
So that was really well done. Bit of a shame we missed out on that first kill, but it seemed like 9Pandas were going to do something towards that A-bomb site, but have been turned to the other direction as a result of finding no significant trade. Quartz is tagged up, but they do have the util to burst into this B-bomb site. 2 smokes that Seized is lining up for his teammates to try and get some room. Meanwhile, they still have that lurk on the A play as well. Ooh, missed Molly. That was supposed to be destined for bench, but they weren't quite sold that it was actually going to be a B finish. Valde even had his teammate rotating away from the bomb site, but now they find Impact. This lurk from Idis Balance finding his kill, but he's now funneled off, leaving Seized all alone with the bomb on his back. He can secure a plant for 9Pandas, but winning the round will still be difficult.
Some people say winning the round after this one is better anyway, so Seized just big brain. Now he's going to get 2 kills, get some more money, so he can pick up the AK. Yeah. Of course, he is going to be aiming for the round win with Quartz slow, Xiphon also a little bit strained. I say that, but he has had the hottest hand in the server so far. I don't think there's any doubts about that.
It just looks very calm when he's taking his fight so far. So, I mean, great to see Xiphon sort of blazing a bit of a trail for TSM. Feels like the most significant, I mean, most substantial rounds were based on him. But we'll be back after a break because that pistol was just a little bit of a palate cleanser.
Normally I say that we're heading into the second half, but the second half has already started. Guys, listen, trust me, we know. You know, we don't talk about it. There you go. 9Pandas losing out.
It's not like we missed it entirely, so it's fine.
It is true, but 9Pandas did miss the pistol round win. But they got the bomb plant at the very least, which is why you can pull out a better buy. That being said, who goes for a scout? Man, Itis Balance, you better be cooking.
I love a scout purchase on force buy rounds.
On T side?
Yeah, even on T side. Maybe not for this pick. Be very difficult. Klax's Galil seems better served and better suited for its purpose. Stopping an aggressive move from TSM to start off.
They have 4 players on the A side on TSM, and they're all aggressive on A. This would be the most successful B rush call you've ever seen in your life, if it had been. But no. Poison's also only got an MP9 on that B side, so yeah.
Glowing's coming to recover a gun because he only had a Deagle, so there's a Galil that has been ferried over by Klax. So this is a very well-equipped secondary force buy round from 9Pandas, especially now that they have that man advantage. They have all this time still on the clock where they can decide their finish.
And full utility. Let's not forget, you've got 2 smokes. Well, full as it gets in a force buy.
Mm-hmm.
And with 3 players still on that A site, the lean is going to be problematic. Mid smokes come through. This could be either side finish, honestly. And with 45 seconds left, it does feel like 9Pandas might make the mistake of heading into A. But they decide against it. They have had a revelation. And that revelation is to go to the B site.
Yeah, only the SMG of Poison to try and deter them, so they don't fall into the trap that TSM had laid out from the very start of the round. Poison needs to get away with a multi-kill if they want any chance of going back into this retake. First kill in, but the flash makes it that much more difficult to find that multi-kill. And TSM realize that they have stacked the wrong side of the map. 9Pandas finding the right finish to disrupt after losing pistol.
TSM's going to have to save immediately afterwards, and it seems like that was the game plan from the very beginning. I wonder if this is just the response that they have been thinking up to the second round force buy from the T side, that you decide to save as fast as you can. Just said, hey, go aggressive. If you win out the first duels, then we can play for the round win. Otherwise, you know what, go for the save. Which is kind of silly when you say it out like that, but maybe it is just how they feel like you have to deal with it.
Yeah, it kind of sucks as well that, you know, unfortunately, the secondary player that was pushing into Palace didn't actually hunt for that trade as aggressively as maybe they had initially planned. You know, the spacing maybe felt a little bit off, and the timing was weird. And so, you know, both of them had M4s, but they kind of allow access for 9Pandas to get their hands on another weapon when there are still SMGs floating around the TSM arsenal. So, for them, even with them making that call, it does feel pretty bad to suddenly just have one of those rifles plucked away by your opponents. But great job from Klax, you know, finding that kill and then getting his teammate equipped as well.
What is this smoke? Is that a smoke? Is that just randomly pointing at things?
I feel like that if that is a smoke, it's the Strauss top mid smoke.
The device smoke, right? Maybe.
Yeah.
Let's keep an eye out. No, never. It is a smoke. Okay. Because they could get aggressive down middle with their 2 M4s if that's the plan. And honestly, with how many early round plays that TSM was going for, I wouldn't hate it, right? So, yep, you seem to be right, Michael. That is indeed, no, not quite, but it is a smoke that makes it so you can't actually see the players without crossing over to the left side of the top mid cart.
Interesting.
That's quite nice. I think it's even setting up a one-way coming up for Valde. So they've got a lot of mid control, but the problem is it's an A-sided execute to come through from 9Pandas. Do TSM have the adjustment?
Well, there's a lot of util that's sent out, but they actually delayed their flashes. Glowing getting out from Palace and just leaping over that player, still tucked underneath balcony. Of course, trying to find the right timing and sneak his way out from what is a swarmed position, but they don't seem to have any clue that he's actually tucked himself away like this.
Works is playing for the late round. Now he moves past it, in he goes, but Diladez is able to take him down. Only 4 HP short, but he's more than okay with it. Thank you, Val, for nerfing the Deagle. And although TSM did look like they were in a position to sneak out and get a shank out, but feels like they've just been removed from the contention of this round.
Oh, God. That is a very, very ugly scenario to find yourself in. Felt like Quartz had every advantage. Dildaz was even deploying utility, kind of setting up for his, I think his teammate to sort of peek from stairs. He was throwing a flash. And that was Quartz's time. And he said, it's a result of that Deagle being nerfed all those moons ago. From being able to just shoot 2 tags to the body. You need a 3rd these days.
Does feel like the wrong weapon for a situation like that, but I doubt he was prepared for, you know, being shrouded in a smoke for 20 seconds before he moves out, right?
Yeah.
I really like the play from TSM early on, but unfortunately when that doesn't work out, plan B isn't really there for them. And that doesn't seem too different from what we saw on the T side either.
Like this would have been a great round almost to try something like it. Get a couple of players playing to those top mid boxes, you know, address and fight what is basically all the 9Pandas players, bar one. They're just crawling their way up through short, but there is a D-sided stack. The thing is, they're not very well equipped to actually deal with this. That rifle was left to its own devices, it pushed through Palace, and it's simply on the wrong side of the map. Only extra kill that could be found is by Poison on that boost, but he fired too soon. Shot too early.
Well,
uh-oh. Well, that's very awkward for Valde, because they have a very fanned out hunting dispersal of players, so had he been able to get himself to those top mid boxes, maybe there was a chance he could have swiftly sort of darted away with that M4, but no saves for TSM. They come into the second half, winning the pistol, and quite handily, but ever since, 9Pandas have reasserted themselves.
Look, this is the first proper buy coming out from TSM where it does feel like they're on even territory, even if they don't have the AWP. Let's see what they can actually offer something again. It's the same smoke that we saw before, or rather didn't see on our screens, but now we have an idea of what the game plan is for mid. Poison's able to move past the first, but as he realized there's another crossing over, it's glowing inside the smoke. He has circumnavigated it around it instead. Poison's ready for this peak, but he's not ready for the sharpness of Glowing's aim. 4 on 3 now.
It's a really cool way to take mid-control as a CT side. And we finally get to see it in action. The man advantage found here for TSM, but Klax has crept his way out towards Sandwich. They're meeting 0 resistance on the A bomb site itself, so attention should be raised to jungle, or the potential of a connector-sided stack for TSM, given that they wanted to fight for that mid-control so early. Free enough plant. But this fight towards jungle is very important. Zyphon flooring the first and running out of ammo was Klax up close, so Valde's trade is simple. Zydus balance in a 1-on-3. And they do not have a kit here on the CT side. Just looking for that bomb, trying to hunt for it, but Quartz there. As soon as Zydus balance reveals his location, Quartz has him dialed in. TSM of successful retake on the A play.
Very nice to see, but unfortunately for them, they will still have the Spectre of Economy hunting, or rather hunting them down in the next one. Great retake, could have been a little bit different. Like you said, there wasn't really that kit either, but Quartz able to find a crucial frag. I'm more worried about what comes now. If you can't win this round, 9Pandas could still run away with things. This is the crucial must-win situation for TSM.
Yeah, there aren't hard resets to your economy anymore, right? You know, once upon a time, you know, win one round and then all of a sudden your loss bonus is completely reset. But the very idea of, you know, winning a round and then losing the next, you know, your economy is so fickle on that CT side anyway that it can feel almost just as punishing. You know, it almost engages into an extra 2 rounds to follow. So this is very important for TSM to try and get a handle back on this game.
Sees knows that Valde is nestled away here. Valde doesn't have any reason to peek out though. That's the issue. If you've got a Molotov, maybe you use it to try and displace him, but then you are opening up the risk of being shot down. So he calls I disbalance over. Molly out for Valdez. Taken down. There you have it. Dotting your I's, crossing your T's, killing your Valdez. That's how the saying goes, right? Maybe not.
Something along those lines.
Quartz is hoping he's not a part of the saying, though. He's not a metaphorical man. He's a man of a physicality, and he believes in his gun. Daladez moves past. I think he might have spotted just a foot for Quartz when Quartz isn't going to be prepared for it at all. I disbalance spots him out as well, but the shot's been missed. Smoke out for Quartz will actually buy him a lot of space because otherwise Daladez was going to be able to move around and take him down. Still could be just a quick little peekaboo situation, but with all the T side being relocated back to B and TSM having no intention of rotating, Quartz is not prepared at all. TSM will be forced to save.
And save they'll try. Poison, AWP crossing in from triple. Glowing's already set up on that hunt, and Poison is pinned. Trapped in his location. They really want to get these weapons out of the hands of TSM to make this a very punishing round. And the Molotovs and the smoke. Poison trying to escape. Will actually get into the cover of his teammates, but he's finally found. This is, I mean, a really nice looking round from 9Pandas, but also this hunt is just devastating. About how many they get away with and how many they keep alive. Joel tags up. That AWP taken into Joel's hands, but yeah, I mean, they know exactly where he is, and it's between a rock and a hard place. 9Pandas up to a 10th round. And, you know, this is another situation where TSM started off with that three-man setup over towards the A side, but they're very committed to that one philosophy that they leave a lot of responsibility onto Quartz. You see how uncomfortable he is. He understands that he could be flanked in from window. He understands that he has to worry about 3 potential avenues into the B-bomb site, but unfortunately he misses the timing to sort of reveal what what 9Pandas had cooked up on some of those flanks.
Yeah, the thing is that if you're going to go for these... Oh, fast play out. Not able to get the frag, but still, if you're going to go for these abandoned mid plays, you have to rotate quickly. That's always a rule. Get info and rotate fast.
But they also, I mean, that's part of the thing, is that if you're going to go for those plays and nothing really culminates from it, a lot of teams, you know, will have a 2 or 3 man push to hunt for that information, but TSM were very static.
Yeah.
Felt like at a certain timer you had to call for that play, but
yeah,
nobody did. Well, this is certainly an interesting way to play out the low buy, or really, I guess, the no buy. 3 men inside of ladder room.
Michael, what do you call 3 men in the ladder room?
I have no idea.
A ladder.
They were gonna say like janitors or something. Or
No,
like
no.
technicians.
They're just a ladder.
Yeah. Right. Ooh.
Nice shot from Quartz, I gotta say. You don't see that every day with the Deagle. Tough angle.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not even about your aim, it's just like the variance of the gun, so.
Yeah. That sounds like copium to me, Michael, but okay.
Yep. I mean, it's true.
Well, regardless, Valde may be able to get another kill. $300 in the bag and a nice little cinematic angle of his death. Why not?
Didn't even give them the money, so, you know, perfectly timed from Valde.
Hey, biggest brain in Denmark after about 7 others.
Yeah, there's too many big brains in Denmark, unfortunately. This brain's gonna be put to use. Calling a timeout. They know that they are... I mean, this is their last real investment. Otherwise, 9Pandas run away with this game. TSM have not had the same safety net on the CT side of being able to win some of these low-buy rounds. Felt like a big reason as to why 9Pandas were able to sort of stabilize themselves on the defense. TSM are in a bit of a pickle. I liked what we saw from some of their aggressive mid takes. Felt like that one kill of Poison was able to get when we saw it actually sort of manifest into a frag. Felt very favorable, very one-sided. You know, had they had more players there, and you know, that's why you see so many teams actually go for a CT side where they're aggressive into middle. I think Spirit are the most famous for it at the moment. Is that even if you take the bomb sites, that you can be very fast to reassert yourself, especially if it's going to be an A-sided finish.
Wow, this 3-0-2 setup is something they're really intent on, huh?
Oh, it might work out for them this time, because 9Pandas, even though they're exploring mid, there's only 2 players here that are looking and hoping to link up, I imagine, with these A players just sat outside of ramp.
Wirtz is in a good position to actually contest into middle as well, theoretically. Will be taken down, sure, but he does contest. With the first kill coming out towards the B-bomb side, they might want to start to look away, but in the meanwhile, Zyphon and Poison strike through, seized, caught out as well, trying to lurk through. Dilladez has to come up big. Zyphon's on the other side. He's got full audio of it. But as Glowing starts to move in through connector himself, that'll be the rotate called over from Valde. They're on a timer, but the timer for Joel runs out first, and so does Zyphon as he hits the floor. Valde, 1-on-2 for him. He was hoping to have a little bit more assistance from his teammates and was hoping they'd stay alive for a while longer, but instead, the T's are expecting rotation coming out from CT spawn. Valde unable to find anything on the wall bank either. A quick double swing could be in order. Dilladez head spin, given a little bit of tapping to, knocked down. Keeps himself alive, but Valde continues to deal damage more and more. He knows he's got no chance in this game if he doesn't win out the clutch. Got that 9Pandas be on a 12 with no money on the CT side, but feels like that's what it's destined to be regardless.
Yeah, I mean, really nice job there from 9Pandas picking that one apart. As soon as they knew there were 2 players committed to very similar positions on that A-bomb side, that Molotov flushing them out into the open. They deal with both those players, and Valde's in a very tough position. And once they figure out he's coming in from jungle, just crossing to triple and building a crossfire for that post plan, really well done, really well managed. It felt like their communication was clear in that moment. TSM, it's a bargain bucket buy, and unfortunately, this is not looking likely. Balance already picking off the first, and they know that there's the potential for them to have been through Underpass. These SMGs just trying to pressure, but 9Pandas are well aware. And they're absolutely hoofing it over towards the A-bomb site, because they've just lost too much control at B that it's basically impossible to justify going that direction.
Late round execute onto the A site with these positions. It's going to be tough for any assistance to be offered up from Zyphon unless he just wants to swing out of the smokes. Glowing's taking map control quick, and Zyphon knows he's got no choice over here. At least Valde is good for the one. Zyphon needs to commit, and soon. But with the Molotov in front of the smokes at bench as well, how does he actually even look to fight? There's still more utility to come from the T's, and yes, the CTs have moved past the connector smoke, but all 2 of them are located in pretty much the same place, and with Zyphon revealing his position, the T's want to be staying away from it regardless. Flashbang overhead doesn't do much to Dilladez. He's able to get away regardless. Joel's been being quite noisy about his ascent back to CT, but he's not able to spot anyone out. They think it's clear. They don't know everyone's here. Joel finds one. In the meanwhile, Quirtz turns around. The bomb is ticking. 10-second timers given up. 13 for 9Pandas, and despite their early question marks, they will still come through with a pretty smooth victory.
Yeah, I mean, there were some definite problems on...
Yeah, I mean, listen, TSM had some fun times as well on the T side. We're going to find out whether or not there's anything like that for them to offer later on into the next map as well. It's unfortunate that they didn't really seem to have plan Bs at times, but it felt like CT was really where they did struggle, didn't they, Michael? Oh. do feel like there might be a couple of microphone issues going on our ends. Fortunately, it's after the game's already done, though. We're going to be going to the next game very soon. So in the meanwhile, I'm sure that Michael, your pretty face can feature while I do all of the talking. But Michael, you know what? I've heard a voice in my head. Can I hear yours instead?
I mean, can you hear me? I mean, I just need to get some confirmation because I'm trying to say words, but I don't think there's many people that are watching that are sort of affluent lip readers. But yeah, it felt like there were quite a few moments where we had some nice dynamics sort of pulled from TSM, but there were some sort of lingering ideas that they had that just didn't sort of culminate. You know, one of the few rounds we actually saw that 3A setup work out for them. Still, 9Pandas were able to sort of pick it apart, and once they realized numbers, you know, I felt like they just did a marvelous job. So, I mean, 9Pandas are probably one of the more threatening teams within the ESL Challenger League. I mean, they should have been at the major, they didn't make it, so there's probably going to be a chip on their shoulder, you know, ahead of some of the prospects of making it to top-tier events like ESL Pro League, which is what ESL Challenger League can sort of offer you an opportunity for.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, we did point out that Glowing was our player to watch out for. He didn't really have the most stellar performance, had a few crucial kills. Klax was the one who was lighting up the scoreboard a little bit more, ended up on about 20 plus kills. But listen, man, MR12, 20 kills, that's fantastic stuff from him, especially given the roles he was playing. Slightly propped up by, you know, that one eco run where he gets a 4K, but whatever. It stops them from getting a bomb plant. It was actually quite important to make sure TSM had less money as well going into the next few rounds. So that was actually quite impactful overall, so I wouldn't really count that one out just for no reason. So shout out to Klax, doing a good job. I'm curious about whether we see Idis Balance taking this similar sort of role upping situation, not really going too aggressively in Overpass as well. I'm hoping we can see more from him, but if they want to maintain that double up, there is no map to do it like Overpass.
Yeah, it feels like a great opportunity to sort of flex those extra muscles. So yeah, I mean, C's had some great performances. Idis Balance did as well. But yeah, I mean, if hopefully they don't need as many Force Spies to, I guess, win this second map in the series.
Listen, we're going to find out after a short break whether Force Spies are a requirement or not. Be back in just a bit. Welcome back to the ESL Challenger League Season 47. We continue on in our journey between 9Pandas in TSM. 9Pandas now up one map after winning TSM's own map pick of Mirage. We head into Overpass soon. I'm T-Time, joined by Michael, Yumi, Cassidy. Michael, thoughts on Overpass?
I mean, the map itself, I love it. I do think it is a map that has undergone quite a few developments. You know, I feel like with the way that we've seen both of these teams play so far on Mirage, I feel like 9Pandas are going to actually have a very good job. Do a great job of sort of taking and establishing map control. I felt like they had some great ideas on CT sides. I like the way that they were mid-rounding on their T side on Mirage as well. So if a lot of those tendencies sort of carry over to this Overpass, I think TSM are going to have a very hard time. But if some of those opening plans they go for actually are in the right locations, I feel like they can do a lot to actually sort of hold their own.
Well, listen, with the TSM that was going for fast executions on A side a lot in Mirage, honestly, B is a pretty quickly executable side on Overpass as well. I could see them sneaking out 4, maybe 5 rounds of the T side if they do get a little bit lucky. But yeah, CT side was left much more lacking. I will say this though, Overpass seems like it's a lot more rotate friendly in terms of there's multiple places where you can quickly rotate from, and it did feel like TSM was struggling in the rotation department more often than not, especially when the B side hits came in from Glowing and company. So maybe there's still a world where Overpass can be snuck away, but yeah, I'm leaning over pretty heavily to the 9Pandas side.
Yeah, it just kind of feels like in the first 20-30 seconds of a round, there's a lot of communication happening on the TSM side, and then, you know, past that point, I'm not sure that there is much sort of cooking up. I think we saw one mid-round from the TSM side that actually felt like they sort of concocted a solution, and that was when they lost, I think, 2 players on, like, their T-side default, and then they had to sort of Joel sneak in through connector. So yeah, I think it's a little strange. Maybe there's just a lack of voices. I'm not really sure, because, you know, there's in-game leaders, but then there's leaders that you have in game. I feel like there are quite a few that are going to sort of command a lot of that mid round. Maybe Valde's sort of acclimatizing everybody to like these opening philosophies, but there has to be some sort of adaptation, because Overpass is one of those maps where it feels like you do have to sort of slink between bomb sites every now and again, and you have to sort of play that clock out very heavily on that T side rather.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm also curious to see about whether or not we can maybe have a little bit more of a better showing coming out from them on the opening department as well. I didn't feel like Poison was really able to get involved on the CT side of Mirage the same way, even though he is a player who honestly does really like the map. So Overpass, this is pretty much as op-heavy as it gets in the modern metagame. I'm very curious to see what his impact will be there, especially considering that my memory is not the best, but if I remember correctly, he actually did make his mark on a lot of overpasses back in complexity as well. And again, I know, guys, it's been like 4 years at this point since the Juggernaut, but it is sort of what we have to go back to if you want to think about the best times of Poison.
As a counter, I think Idis Balance also sort of made a lot of his mark on this map when he was on his come up, you know, to sort of break into Spirit and Amiga. I feel like he did a great job of just sort of dictating and even just taking very bold fights, but very, very often kind of got away with it. You know, it's kind of strange to see him in 9Pandas, because it feels like he's not the same player anymore, which is, you know, great for him in his journey, but also at the same time, you know, I kind of miss, you know, some of that, I guess, bravado that he had about him. And, you know, speaking of bravado, Poison was on bravado not too long ago, strangely enough, which was kind of an odd overlap between regions. You know, Bulgarian going over to South Africa is not something that you see all too often, but, you know, these are, I think everybody has their own journeys. It's nice to see this TSM culmination of different, I guess, pathways to the pro circuit.
And look, as far as Poison is concerned, he's been a mercenary now for so long, it doesn't feel like he's going to be finding a home anytime soon. TSM does seem to be his best bet, and I won't lie, in today's day and age, it does feel like TSM would have options. So for Poison, you need to start performing soon. TSM has shown that they're willing to cut people, they're willing to shuffle players around when the need arises. They have just replaced 3 players in this year alone. So yeah, he's going to have definitely some pressure on his back, but now we're going to start things off with TSM going full Glocks, full armors, except for Siege, who's got himself a smoke and 2 flashes. I know I just said it's TSM, Michael. I'm lying to you. It's 9Pandas who I'm describing right now.
Yeah, it's because you just saw the logo, but the words say something different. So yeah, 9Pandas starting on that T side. and yes, only having that one belt, but they're doing a great job of sort of bypassing the setup for this T-side, or rather the CT pistol. But TSM realized that it was just so empty over on B that they started to rotate heavily over. 9Pandas are also rotating back to B, it seems.
Seems like everyone's got the B plan. Or rather, do they? Quick shot down on Quartz and they can immediately start to re-navigate. TSM now is where they start to get a little bit lost. Maybe their reluctance in rotating will be paying off though with 4 players here. They do have enough to contest and Zyphon's been sharp throughout the series. This will be no different. Poison as well with the backstab. Ready. Between the two of them finding all 5 kills, TSM start off strong.
Damn, that actually felt like 9Pandas had sort of concocted an anti-strat against TSM. It felt like their timings were great. They sort of read into the rotations that TSM were going for. And then once they found that kill on short, it almost felt like TSM had to just cut their typical sort of flight paths or their typical sort of flow chart of decisions and just stick to the A bomb site. And what a decision that was. I mean, some great shots from Zyphon, just stopping them right in their tracks. Kind of built space for Poison's flank, just to really tie the bow on the round.
Oh, God.
Oh
God! Wow. I think jackets need to start coming off, Michael. I'm sweating. If that's the kind of shots that we're going to see hit, heat has been turned up.
I will always say, you know, when you're on SMGs against, you know, pistols and things, as soon as I start seeing players throw out nades and kind of not looking to challenge, that's where I start to get a little concerned. And, you know, Poison, unfortunately, is on the worst end of the stick. Because his nade did a lot of damage. They're really going to beat up the clock.
That's a very important flashpoint for Valde to find the kill and control in long. If they'd let Dilides be alone for a little while longer, that could have been a deagle kill to be found again. Bomb might be planted at this point. Michael, this is a lot of money being given up to the T side. Valde has to start to compensate with a few more kills with this MP9. Siege has picked up one of those for himself as well, but that is going to be hitting the deck very soon. Cracks all alone, P250 is all he's got, and he can't adjust in time for the Zyphon swing. Second on the board for TSM, but 9Pandas do make them sweat.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell they were giving them a lot of respect. Joel was that last defender on the A-bomb side. They knew that they had some extra presence via Valde's flanking MP9. So, even though they do concede the plant, they're just happy that they keep 4 alive, and they're, I think, more worried about their own economy at that point as opposed to 9Pandas. But you see how much they're able to afford coming into this round, you know, only losing the opening 2, and they've got their hands on an AWP, a full belt of util on that AWP as well. This is a whole lot that TSM are going to have to contend with. These ranged fights are where they should have their edge. Still SMGs in TSM's equipment, unfortunately.
Goes Joel, Dalides found the better from before. This will be no different now that he's got the AK in his hands.
Well, last time it was Poison. This time it was Joel, so
well,
neither of them successful in that.
Keep shuffling them around. Maybe eventually you'll find someone who can actually win. That's what Dalides is thinking.
Yeah, Zyphon, it's your turn next.
Hey. No one's messing with Zyphon, okay? Where it's close range against the AWP, that's a perfect weapon for it. Unfortunately, not ready for the second man nearby. Clax, who's found so much ground back to this B site, will be able to smoke off heaven while the bomb is dialed in. But he's not just done that, he's found another kill. In the meanwhile, Valde unable to proceed through. This site is off limits, but he doesn't want to care about it. He wants to trespass, and as he tries to do so, punishment isn't there yet, but he's been punched down to 17. That's insane.
Yeah, that was really the only way in, unfortunately. Neither of these players had kits, and Valde's HP just wasn't conducive to him taking the next fight. That smoke was going to last for at least a few more seconds, and that was precious time they didn't have to spare. So You know, it does seem a little mad. You know, you would have... I think there are some teams who would have called a save in that scenario, but they still wanted to contest for the round.
I would have called a save in that scenario. You can see what it's done to their money. They've got one flashbang and one flashbang only, so you're going to be relying very much on that Poison AWP that has pulled out so much investment. Valde, Deagle, and Kevlar. And 9Pandas are happy to slow things down.
Yeah, they play a very measured game, the 9Pandas. It's nice to see that they are not deterred. And they're basically forcing TSM to play at their pace, as they've punished those early bouts of aggression that TSM have looked for.
Oh, they should be dead man over here. We'll be able to find one, surprisingly enough. Seas falls victim to a lazy clear. There'll still be Joel out on long, who's going to be bringing together the rail firepower with the M4. Just an A1 though, so hard to get a quick multi-kill out unless you're going through with a quick double tap dinks, but those don't come true. He's good for the one, fades away. Joel knows not to contest too much longer, but unfortunately for him, Clax was set up for the flank. Bomb has been tapped, no one to push through the smoke. That means Growing can now commit to truly.
I was waiting for Clax to get into position. And once again, they will be lacking in kits here on the TSM side. They do have that AWP out, but it almost has to kind of lead the charge so that these rifles can trade out efficiently. Trying to find that first kill, but he'll miss on the flick. Quartz right behind him, and in fact, the pre-fire from Glowing not connecting. It's Ida's balance they have to worry about, holding this long line on his own orb, fighting the fight. Poison going right into the scope, and Clax trying to take contact round it. They do get that smoke down, but Ida's balance sneaks away another frag. It's Zyphon that's last man standing, but there's simply no more time to get that defuse. Between the two of them, 9Pandas are able to hold in the post plant, and TSM are left with nothing, no guns. Zyphon doesn't escape the bomb.
9Pandas are more than happy to have even lost all of their players, not just 4 at that point. CT side money's going to be reset. You can pull out those Mac 10, start farming up. That's exactly what Seized is going to be doing. And honestly, round went pretty decently for TSM, right? Valde actually finds a kill. Joel is able to get one back off after that, but Clax on the flank was just completely unexpected. That's what completely disables any chance TSM had of retaking that in, despite a few good kills from Quartz.
I mean, it was such a late, long progression from Clax. You know, I almost don't blame Joel for expecting that it's just going to be a bathrooms attack.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, he was the one that tied the bow on the round, really. Just the fact he got that frag equalized, and then TSM had no stake on the site.
I've got a lot of stake on long this time.
Not that kind of stake.
Ah. Well. Now's the time for Dillades to run away. This is where Ida's balance can come through, help him out a little bit more. They're really not focusing down on him. P250's out as well, and just gonna back off. Meanwhile, Glowing can come by. Good target progression, or rather maybe good shuffling around of the deck for 9Pandas, keeps all 5 alive.
Yeah, I mean, that was lovely. That's great team interplay to work off each other. Just know that there's no reason for, even if you're boxed in, to feel like you're totally trapped and alone. You know, they played off each other, and they hung those low HP players out as bait to sort of distract from the next fight. So really well managed against those USPs.
I would like to quickly point out the fact that Seized has a Mac 10 and 4 of these players do not have head armor. This could be a very fun round for him. Zyphon's not able to spot out the first player crossing over. Clax will have moved through unnoticed. That's where Quartz is not prepared, but he is checking just in case. Clax has a chance to equalize here. He'll have the advantage, but he's given out sound cues, and with that, Quartz can shut him down and retreat.
Yeah, they just had a misread on what that boost actually spotted. I think Clax expected that he would have been revealed. Seized does find a very clean kill. That's courtesy of the fact that head armor was lacking. A lot of damage dealt to Quartz prior to that fight. They do rebuild the boost, and this will be a great position for it, but they broke it down just as soon as they had rebuilt it. All they're doing is boosting on this B-bomb site.
There you go.
And
quite like
9Pandas are doing the same. I don't know.
Can you see the CT?
Oh,
you
the
can't.
pillar.
Okay. It's just such a fringe angle to even think about, isn't it?
So rare that I see both boosts built at the same time, really.
Poison spots are glowing, but who's spotting out who? Glowing's the one with more skill, or rather more pedigree on the rifle. Don't want to call out skill yet. Molotov to the back of the side. Joel is forced away. Glowing can start to scale up, but the bomb is still destined for B. Rotation's called over. The CTs have got no idea. 9Pandas really taking it slow, but by the time they actually commit to the B site, they'll have to have those smokes deployed soon. They're using one out for the site itself, maybe one for Heaven to come through late. No, they're blocking out CT. They're trying to build out for Dilades, but with the spam in through, Evalda is able to find the kills. Seas has to do so much all on his own with barely any HP. First kill found. Flash is ready. Joel doesn't have a kit, so time's going to be in the favor of Seas. How does he want to work? How does he want to work this?
Oh my god, he's called his bluff. And Joel's made steps, so Seized knows he has played this perfectly. Joel got lost. Thought for sure Seized would try and challenge on that AWP, but it's again Seized on an AWP. That's found a multi-kill and finished the round off for 9Pandas. Through his career, through his many years, decades of experience.
Decades, okay.
I would not have chalked him as the guy that would, you know, play forward. He's been playing since 2009, so that is at least one decade.
Decade of experience doesn't quite have the same ring to it. Yeah,
I mean,
you're
it's
right.
like it's like 15 years, you know.
Like in esports terms, this is basically 3 generations, right?
Yeah, but you know the guy to AWP and you know have that, you know, him stretch his legs like that, loving Seized and what he's been offering in some of these rounds.
Hey, listen, if there was one player I was very sure wouldn't be making a comeback going out late into Counter-Strike, it would probably be Seized from the old Navi lineup, honestly. Like, I could have probably seen, hey, you know what, maybe Edward makes a resurgence because he has that really great CIS brand that, you know, everyone really loves him. Maybe Flamey finds his mojo again, you know, this. But Seized has really been just a real revelation.
I mean, a tenacious figure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Showing his love for the game. Going, though. Oh, no! Puts his AK away! He thought he had cover! I disbalanced, though. He can only shoot one bullet at a time with that AWP. That's the only real disadvantage of it.
Yeah, if only that auto sniper. What a blunder. Bad timing for Glowing, but his teammates are still thriving in their spots, so man advantage found once again here for 9Pandas. Maybe Joel can get his AK activated. They were starting to gravitate over towards the A site, and this double push from long for TSM could have been on a collision course, but 9Pandas have had a bit of an epiphany, and it does seem like the B bomb site is where they should finish. Quartz does have a smoke that can buy time, but he has to deploy that fast enough. He's just gonna run straight through it, and Clax floored on the first, but they're seized to trade. And unfortunately, the remainder of TSM are just far too detached to offer much in this round.
Decent round from them regardless. I mean, they're still committed to it from TSM as well, apparently. So maybe I shouldn't be counting them out just yet. Joel, beautiful shot. Disbalance is taken down, and with this, they are surely going to be getting greedy for some hunt and molly. Back out to Toxic. Dilades reveals position, but it's really Seized who is able to guarantee this round win. 9Pandas not just win, they bait TSM into contending with those 2 AKs, Michael. That's how next level they are. They let Disbalance die on purpose for that.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you know, they were just making sure that there was nobody hiding in that B-bomb site. It took them a while to plant. So yeah, TSM did start to sort of get themselves into the right positions, even though it felt like 9Pandas had that site for like 20 seconds. It's longer than most will wait before getting that plant down. They've called the timeout. the 9Pandas, even though they've found a nice little string of success after losing the pistol and the conversion, they've hit 5 straight. Just making sure that everyone is focused. Kind of hoping to see something out of Poison ever since the pistol round.
Oh, I thought you were about to say ever since Complexity.
Nope. Since the pistol round. Been hard for him to get his impact.
Well, sorry, Joel. That deal's really not been working out for them. Meanwhile, Valdez moving past, and guess what? Dilladez is ready for him. Appreciate the thought, but can't only be thinking, you gotta be killing something that Poison is learning. Quite slowly, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're getting demolished. I mean, another round in which it feels like 9Pandas are just not that stressed at all. It's a nice build of the boost. Just a single pixel for Zyphon to see over the top of that wood wall, but it's enough. There'll still be some time before 9Pandas get into the right spot to get this plant in. It does seem like TSM do want to see if they can pick this one apart somehow. They do still have Zyphon hovering inside of Bank.
So many flashes. And for Zyphon, so little time to try and make anything happen. Bomb's been planted, now he is out of there. 9Pandas have got plenty of money if they want to go out hunting. Well, I wouldn't blame them. Put on your hunting hat, I guess. I don't actually know what hunters wear, to be honest. I feel like they should wear a hat.
There are hats, I do believe.
Are there? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna Google this.
It's like
Hunting
they're like
hat.
they're kind of like they're almost like hard hats, but
Okay, fair enough. I mean, I guess you would need like a pretty hard hat, just in case like a tree falls on you or something, right?
or like, you know, like you're driving through or you're on your horse. I don't know what these people
You
use
hunt
that.
on a horse?
I don't know.
Bro,
I feel like
what kind of cowboy hunting are you doing?
there has been. I mean, there have been many different types of hunters throughout history. I'm not gonna get into a whole thing about it. But yes, the stray twig hitting you in the head, I feel like that would hurt if you didn't have protection.
That's true. That is true. Blood went to Mongolia once, and now he thinks people hunt on horses.
People have hunted on horses.
I know. I'm just messing.
Many different cultures, in fact.
But do people hunt on pandas? That's the question. They do, not very successfully. They tried hunting with those last 2 guns, but they didn't actually find even one.
Also, like, pandas are... I feel like if you tried to mount one, they'd just be like... They wouldn't move.
That has historically been their problem, actually.
Yes.
But,
I don't know what you want me to do with you on my back. I'm just gonna keep eating bamboo.
Well, TSM has been bamboozled so far on their CT side. One does wonder about whether T-side will be a little bit more impressive, but I don't know if they're going to survive to that point, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the way things are going right now, any of their openers that they've gone for, they've always found themselves in a deficit. You know, whether that's Poison getting aggressive into the playground, Joel a couple of times. This time it was Joel alongside Valde that tried to find a gap, and they're just continuing to sort of bleed out. Even when they're finding an opening pick, you know, we saw that one opportunity where Glowing pulled out his Molotov, and you know, things got a little bit awkward. It was always traded. So 9Pandas just haven't felt like they've been pressured or they've been put in uncomfortable scenarios, even though it's not like TSM aren't trying to find those opportunities. You know, 9Pandas just are sort of very prepared for the strap book that TSM are throwing down right now. I feel like the flow has to change somehow here for TSM. Even when they set up for boosts, you know, one of those rounds where Clack sort of snuck through the short smoke and got himself access to water, and Idis Balance thought it was all clear and he dies. You know, those are the types of moments and those are the types of rounds that you're kind of hoping the TSM side can sort of find openers like it.
Well, I have to say, I'm also quite impressed with the fact that 9Pandas, despite the fact that they do look like they're kind of stomping as far as the round score is concerned, even though I will say some of these rounds have been a lot closer than maybe that round score would indicate, they've stayed reserved and honestly quite disciplined. I am always impressed by a team that does that, but I suppose with a team whose average age is maybe a little bit on the higher side, that is sort of what you'd expect. Michael, actually, I'd like you to make a guess. You might have already seen this, in which case, do let me know. Don't cheat, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I have already seen, so...
Damn it. Well, the average age for 9Pandas is 26 years old, to anyone who was wondering.
Yeah, that's unfortunately one of the parts of my... when I know I'm going to cast them, I love looking at just reminders of how old people are, because, time is forever moving, and sometimes I'll be like, oh yeah, that guy's still 17 in my head, or like 19 in my head, and then I find out they're 21, and I'm like, where did those years go?
I mean, we did just have this happen off camera where Michael was just saying, this balance is 27 years old? What?
Yeah, it's like, I remember when he got his, his kind of first chance or whatever on Spirit, 5 years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, he was maybe like 21, 22, and it's like, wait, that actually all lines up. It has been 5 years.
Maybe this is how parents feel whenever they see us and they're like, wow, you are old enough to actually be a human being and pay rent.
They grow up so fast.
They do grow up too fast. TSM, though, are hoping that they can get some growing up inside the server because they need to find some maturity, and I mean financial maturity, and these stock options are maturing in time for them to actually get something done.
Good flash. This is going to be a bit of a change of pace. This time the AWP was going to be in position, but Idis Balance has found success on his, and unfortunately Poison is left wanting, even hovering around or sticking around in this opening position. Knows that he has to start to peel back on that timing. It's one of the great drawbacks of the CT side. Unless you've got 3 here, it can be very hard to continue to hold into the forward side of bathrooms. Not that it's impossible, but it can be very liable to getting overwhelmed.
Joel is playing with fire. He realizes it eventually, and he puts away the matchbox. Reroute back to the B-bomb side. That's where Poison is. First kill since the pistol round. Can he double it up over here? Doesn't need to. Forces them back out towards that A site. 9Pandas have read into this maybe being a B-sided lean, but Joel and company are still here. Joel mollied off, turned out, flashed up. What else can he even do? Dalades finds both him and Valdin what looked like the same spray down. No chance for TSM, despite the kill from Poison.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like Poison made the right read there. The last man standing on the B-bomb site, he started at A, but he made that rotate over, even though his 2 riflers were sort of combating over on the A side of things. He prevented them from actually circuiting back to B, but that flash Molotov combo from the 9Pandas just doing too much work, even catching some of the T-sided players, and Poison just quick switching as Glowing comes around the corner. So not even a saved AWP. TSM are getting trounced. I don't know how to describe it, aside from it just seems like every open 20-30 seconds we're getting a clean kill for the 9Pandas, or at worst a traded kill, and they just look carefree. They're playing a very slow pace, and TSM are trying to change that forcefully, only to be humbled very quickly.
Joel has pretty much forced spot into this round with the M4. What is his game plan? Starting off out in connector. Honestly, no one's actually here nearby to flash over connector for him either, so despite this being a very, very strong position for a hero rifle, he doesn't have the required utility nearby to actually help him get any impact. Poison and Joel just go down. That's
just beautiful. It's just beautiful. They double molly con at the exact same time. There was one at the bottom side of connector, there was one at the top side, and you have to basically pick your poison, and they picked off Poison and Joel for the same basic play. It seems so simple, you know, just, oh, let's just Molotov off the entire connector. But, I mean, this is a perfect round to do it when TSM are doubled in that spot.
I'm completely with you, but I am wildly tilted that there's no one to throw a flashbang for Joel to peek. I won't lie. That's kind of insane. The fact that you've got 2 flashes purchased up and neither one of them are on your B-side players who can easily throw a flash up above connector. Hell, even Valde can chuck the flash out over. You don't have skyboxes anymore. You can throw a flash from long there. But regardless, round is still on. Even if not for long, Zyphon able to find that 1 frag, and now he's in a 1v3. 20 seconds, clock is low. The B bomb site is a destination. If Zyphon could have made his way over and found glowing on the cross, maybe there was a world where he can still make things work, but 9Pandas in their slow and steady style does continue to find some sort of salvation.
I think they're at a loss. You know, this is just one of those scenarios where everything they've been putting down, 9Pandas are there to pick it up. And they're really hoping that something sort of slips up in the default. They just keep getting destroyed. I mean, this was a very well-constructed, well-thought-out take. You know, one of the few times that they've actually had 3 players dedicated to middle. You know, they had that little shift up where, I mean, Glowing has been playing inside of the connector, but him just being able to get enough room and throw that Molotov down, everything just felt very in tune, in rhythm. All very well orchestrated. And TSM, I don't think they tuned their instruments prior to this match. Mirage, I could pluck out a silver lining. I felt like their openers all looked great, and the TSM have clear ideas, but none of them have worked.
Now the idea is trying to find into short, and it still doesn't work. It is clear, I will say that, but it does feel like you said, 9Pandas are reading into this book very easily. Joel falls down as well. TSM thought they wrote a work of literary art. Turns out 9Pandas find it to be barely more than a picture book.
You know, the first 6 rounds
of this...
bad
matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the first 6 rounds of this game, I was thinking like, oh, you know, that's a little unfortunate. You know, they're just very prepared. You know, hit some nice shots, or you know, they sort of break the idea very quickly just because of like a weird anomaly. Okay, fine. But there's just been so many rounds where like 9Pandas actually just have like all the right players in the right spots that, you know, in a weird, like, it's not as though TSM couldn't have found a solution that worked, but they've tried a few different looks, and 9Pandas are just that one step ahead. Like, this is the first time they started 3 in short pipe, and this is the one round that TSM have tried to take short control with 2 people. You can't make it up. It's a really bad day at the office on this Overpass map for TSM. 9Pandas are getting exactly what they want.
I'm also surprised no one actually got flash on the 9Panda side, to be honest. Like, oh, you know, you could think of that as a great read from TSM even, but that's only if the flash actually works and they're all blind and they can't fight back.
What a strange Overpass this has been.
Yeah.
With the first 2 rounds, and it's been 9 straight and pretty much flawless from 9Pandas all throughout.
Boost has been cleared off.
Yeah, that one seized clutch. And that was kind of it. You know, I mean, there was the I disbalance one as well, the 2v3. You know, those are the closest TSM have come in gun rounds.
Time for I disbalance to go for the full hard scope forward. I do believe this is where the MP9 can really fall by. Nice shot! That is beautiful. Quartz isn't happy about that. I disbalance, though, has been traded out. Zyphon able to please swing. With Valde's demise met, TSM isn't able to keep things in their favor, but Zyphon has been a man on a mission. The mission is to send TSM forward one way or another to the upper high group. Joel, excellent trigger discipline, has to be careful, though. If Glowing had turned around and checked that angle, that could have been devastating. But instead, now he's lining up and setting up for what should be 2 guaranteed frags. Easier with an M4. Thomas might make things hard, and indeed it will. Daladez turns around. Not just good for 1, make it 2.
3 in the entire round so far, and Zyphon will have no choice but to try and stretch his 2 to 4.
And he's playing it slow. Not over-rotating, knows that 9Pandas have pulled the wool over their eyes many times over so far. Bomb is set up on B. There was a smoke that bloomed as well, but Klax, or rather Dilladez, is still so separated. And Klax, that smoke is spilling out. He's not really sure where Zyphon is coming from. The fact that there was no resistance, no noise made. Dilladez in the wrong spot for this, but the plant is strange. It's in an odd spot. Zyphon anticipating that it's going to be in from heaven, and Dilladez knows that he's not sticking it. This is difficult. Zyphon doesn't have a kit. He has no util to funnel Dilladez out into the open, and so he can just simply play with his food. Zyphon needed to find that kill. He needed to find it instantly, and Dilladez is just simply timing him out of this round. It is another 9Pandas round. It's 10 straight at the end of this first half. 9Pandas wouldn't be denied on that first.
A disastrous first half for TSM, but they hope to turn things around in the second. I would say that hope is going to be a little bit tough to achieve, but hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, strange things have happened, but I think this whole map has been strange for TSM. So, really hoping that they can shift their tone moving into this T side. Maybe they can do what was done to them, and they're going in with some nice pace. Quartz finding that kill into glowing, but there's still a lot of players grouped up outside of B. Oh no, that Klax, he was ready for it. He found 2 in an instant. They had 3 around that corner waiting for that exact push, and these dualies have picked them apart. It's the bomb that's found as well. Even though Joel and Quartz started off nicely, it's only Quartz that has found frags, and they have swarmed that package.
I would like to inform you that we have done a thorough assessment of 9Pandas and their construction capabilities, and we can indeed confirm that they are built different.
Damn. I'm gonna need to see the paperwork.
It's right here in your face. Quartz might have found 2. He needs to find the full ace if he wants a chance on this one. Seized might have been spotted. Quartz does know now for sure. Seized. Nearby, Quartz gives out sound. He's wow. Doesn't even wait to try and find the duel. And now that he's forced to turn back, it's a little bit more awkward. Takes a little bit more time than maybe he would have liked. God, there's even a smoke.
Yeah.
Funneled back
in one direction.
Yeah, and he's funneled back to short. They're both completely ready for this. Dilladez and Klax are both going to be able to swing out wide as well, and that's exactly what the game plan is. Klax doesn't take a single lick of damage. He's facing to 4 different players as a CT getting aggressive through Monster in that round. That's insane.
Yeah, we might be in for a fast finish here on this second map. Mirage might have been a bit tumultuous, you know, a couple of moments where, you know, TSM looked pretty good, 9Pandas looked pretty good. That was a bit of an exchange, but 9Pandas has just been all over them. So great to see, like you said, that they played just, like, a very disciplined game. And they're making it look as kind of, like, effortless as it is. Bounces of frustration, I imagine. Joel, the only one that expresses it. The rest are still trying to do what little they can with what little they have. Of course, found some good kills on the pistol round, even if he failed to clutch it all the way out. So maybe this Deagle can find something. Sees spotting at least a couple of players towards the side of bathrooms, but Quartz taken down by the scout. It wasn't as though he was tagged beforehand, but when you don't have armor, that scout does kind of turn into an AWP.
It's a groin shot that fully kills you, right?
Yes, it's when you're shot below the belt. It's a whole world of pain.
Well, that does describe the TSM experience so far as well, Michael. 9Pandas look untouchable, I have to say.
Yeah, it's great to see them play like this as well. You know, I think there's certain times when you have these rosters, especially 9Pandas, where, you know, even at the end of last year, it felt like they were sort of ramping up, and, you know, the philosophy, the idea of them getting into the major, even though they actually couldn't go because of the visa problems that they had. You know, there's some real worries that you may have peaked, and, you know, that was your time to show what you had. This is the 9Pandas we get throughout the rest of Challenger League, how even the events that they have coming up as well. Maybe they are peaking at the right time, and they're able to maintain that as well, because it's not like they're doing, you know, getting away with outrageous rounds. They are, you know, constructing the scenarios that they're thriving in.
His balance, peek forward, he's spotted out 3 different players. His nade should be good, but they might have actually moved past it before it lands. Glowing is instead the one forced to come through. Fight up against some pretty heavy firepower, and TSM with a full contact are making this work, but it will be a 3v3 as Klax finds another kill. Dilladez does fall elsewhere. TSM, oh my god, Quartz looks away, he doesn't realize he's just pushing all the way through. Now Klax is all alone. The hero of the pistol round. Zyphon's able to get the timing. TSM get at least 1 on this C side.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been just about as bad as getting 13-0'd, because TSM won the pistol, they won the second round at the start of this game, and it was 12 straight from 9Pandas, so they stopped that from happening. They don't lose 13 rounds in a row, but they now need to win. I mean, now that they've got 1 extra to add to their tally, 10 straight, or sorry, 9 more straight. My math is terrible. Just to put it into an overtime. So this is going to be extremely difficult, especially because I imagine 9Pandas have many different looks that they can explore on the CT side.
Oh god. He wasn't ready for that second player. Valde just comes through. Quick headshot. I have to say, one thing for TSM that I am quite content about is that largely, with maybe one exception, mechanics have looked pretty decent overall. Flashbang through. Completely blind is glowing. Nice follow-up from Joel as well.
Yeah, this is well thought out. Seemed like the setup was a little uncomfortable for 9Pandas as well. TSM able to punish that. So simple, get 2 kills over towards the bathroom side. There's just simply not enough presence here from 9Pandas to contest. No one was even in a position to rotate. So they are already saving these 3 rifles, hoping to carry them into the following round. But we can see TSM already fanning out and searching for clues because it has been a little too quiet. I think Dilladez is pretty done for.
Does seem to be the case.
Oh, well.
In all fairness, Zyphon's realized his position as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised Zyphon stepped, because it would have made his life a lot easier to finish off the
Okay, just doing more and more damage. Zyphon as well will end up falling. Sure, it's traded in a way, which honestly is more okay for the T side, but gotta be careful. Oh.
Okay. That's an extremely costly round.
Yeah.
Like, very costly.
There's a silver lining. 9Pandas doesn't really have a goodbye now either, and TSM will still be able to whip out everything they want. But it can't feel good.
And not nice to be shortchanged. Especially when it comes to a map like Overpass, where it feels like you're sort of trading a lot of utility for space. That's one of the reasons that CTs kind of can't hang around the front side of bathrooms, is that you're, anticipating flashes, smoke plays that are going to allow the Ts to just systematically clear things. But TSM are not doing any such thing. Contacting their way in through bathrooms. So there'll be no early signals for the 9Pandas, and IDisBounce even going on top of the dice. This is very, very problematic. He spots them, but they get the tag, and they line up for glowing. IDisBounce even finishing off another. Not like this. Full AKs versus a clamor together by 9Pandas have got a significant man advantage.
Oh, IDB even gets a tag on his iPhone. He can't be too happy about it. Nate finishes them all, but he's done more than his work. That's where Dilladez and Z's come through and close it all out. 9Pandas. So convincing, so good, and just astounding how they continue to impress more and more. They will be tied up with Koi in Group D. Both will be on 4-1. Both will be guaranteed in that high group.
Yeah, and if TSM had won here, then we have that whole scenario where it's like we've got so many we've got like a 4-way tie, basically. There was a potential for that. So for us, it kind of simplifies things that 9Pandas showed such a great display on that second map in particular. I mean, undoubtedly, those two out of this group have been the most dominant, and nice to see that the 9Pandas still have that nice structured style that they're just willing to use against everybody. Everyone has that respect marker to them that 9Pandas are playing to their own sort of built structure.
And the worst part about it is that you can't even outline anyone as this huge standout player. Sure, again, we pointed out that Glowing's going to be a player to watch, and we will come through with his stats in just a second as well. But before that, it's just IDisBounce is having his moments, but they're not incredible, insane off moments. This is very much the definition of a team that has propped up their foundations to a point where, unless they're up against a much better opponent than them, you're never going to see anyone having this ridiculously spectacular performance, because they don't need to. Glowing right there, you see those stats as well. It's not this insane performance. It's just, hey, I'm doing my job, you're doing your job, we're all doing our jobs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very middling performance in like in a traditional game, but considering there's only 16 rounds,
Yeah.
17 rounds of play, it's definitely not bad. I mean, it just felt like everybody was doing their part for the 9Pandas system. So yeah, I mean, it's so nice to see teams like that succeed. I think it's even very similar. Movistar Koi are kind of in a very similar boat where it feels like they are sort of the better than the sum of their parts, which is very interesting, to see in the modern day when we always talk about like stars and these prodigies or these prospects that are just single-handedly winning games. It feels like both teams have a very good understanding of how they want to play, and they execute on it great as well.
And of course, if you guys are fans of TSM, then don't worry, they will still be in the lower, or rather, they will still be almost guaranteed in the middle group. I will go back and check this one later on. Regardless, they've got matches to play. So if you guys want to tune into more of that action, make sure you keep on following through for ECL. ECL this week will be over for Europe, but we will have some America's side things coming up in a couple of hours. So make sure you guys come back and tune in for those. Otherwise, next week, Europe will be back as well. The action continues. Playoffs will be beginning not playoffs, but the middling groups and the high groups and all of the different situations. Stage 2 will be beginning very soon for the ECL Season 47, and make sure you guys are tuned in for that as well. We will hopefully catch you there, either in Twitch chat or on the broadcast. For now, though, we're signing off. I've been Tea Time. He's been Michael Cassidy, and we are signing off.